You are live. Let's see how much lag we've got. And I did say lag, not slag, boys and girls. Well, good evening, Gary, Jen, Missy. Good evening to you. And of course, the lovely Mrs. W in the background. How are we all doing tonight? Are we sitting comfortably? If not my fucking problem, is it?
I do a sound check for you, and my camera's just, my YouTube's just closed.
No, I've done my own sound check. It's fine. It's working up there. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm on the poorest camera at the moment. For some reason, I just set up the other one, and it's keeps cutting itself off. I don't know why. I'll have to look into that. Marines, good evening. And the other people that are in the background lurking there. Yeah, it's been a funny old week. Gordo, good evening. I mean, obviously, with all the hospital visits, I haven't been keeping up with a lot that's been going on, simply because I ain't been here. Phil, good evening, buddy. Yeah, not too bad.
Between the two of us, we're going to get a season ticket for.
Yeah, we'll get a season ticket for the parking if you can find a spot. This is the trouble. You can never find a parking spot at the hospital. There is a local park where it's got a car park across the road from it, but it's potluck whether you get a place. So when one of us visits the hospital, the other quite often has to go and sit in the car park so they can move the car. But mine the other day was a absolute fucking fiasco. When was it? Monday? Was it Monday?
Yeah, because I was up there Tuesday.
Yeah. Monday, as you know, my feet have been swelling along with my legs for the last week or two. Sid, good evening. My feet and my legs have been swelling. So I thought, okay, I'll see the GP, make an appointment. Now, get an appointment with our GP here is a case of sitting on the phone for 6 fucking hours in a queue, or go around the surgery and talk to them face to face, which I did. The receptionist took the details of everything and said a doctor would ring me. And I'd literally just got back from the surgery when the doctor rang and said, we'd advise you to go to A&E, which I found very strange to start with. So that ended up starting off a very, very long, annoying day. First of all, you walk in, you don't even get to the reception before the nurses at the door fucking leap on you, taking temperatures and fucking blood pressures. This is before they even know what's fucking wrong with you. Then you get to book in. So after an hour or so waiting for that, they get me in. Oh, yes, your feet are swollen and warm. But then, your breathing's not right. Your chest isn't right. So then start the barrage of fucking tests. Good evening, Stuart. How you doing, buddy? And sitting around waiting. And 7 hours of being jabbed, prodded. And as I said in the video, I felt like a well-used fucking voodoo doll. Going through the change, yeah. I've been there a long time ago, Gary. And a lot of sitting around waiting for answers. Just blood test after blood test. So nothing said about the feet. But at the end of the day, they decided that I needed a CT scan. Like, what, for me fucking feet? You having a laugh? No, we want to scan your lungs and your heart. So, okay, sort that out. So I had to go back yesterday. Again, another big hole in the arm, more blood tests for a scan. Told them that Heather had an appointment later that day. So I needed to be back for that. So I'm not waiting around. So once I've had my scan, that's it. I'm fucking off. At which point they rang me back and said, oh, we want you on some pills for your feet. And now they want me to go back for some more appointments and probably another scan of some type on my heart. They couldn't find any blood clots or anything. But they left me sat in one of these chairs the first day for like 6 hours. And with the fatigue, the chronic fatigue, obviously, it's very uncomfortable. My legs started swelling. And about an hour before I left, they gave me a reclining chair. I'm like, what the fuck? So yeah, that was my first experience of A&E since it started to break itself down. I mean, Heather's been up there. One of the grandkids has been up there to A&E, but I've never been in. But what an absolute fucking mess. They haven't got a clue. They couldn't organise a shag in a whorehouse. That's unbelievable. So yeah, not impressed with it at all. I mean, yeah, I get regular treatment, as you know, at the haematology unit with the consultant there. But because they know me in there, it's a case of just walk round to the haematology and I walk straight in. There's no messing around. They know exactly what I'm there for. So I was quite shocked. I'll let you get away with all caps on that comment, Sid, just the once. I suppose.
It's a link he's suggesting you check out. I'll make a note of it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, sure. The hospital's not far away from me here. Literally, when I was working there, it would take me 5 minutes, 10 tops to walk there. Now I'm lucky if I can get there within 3/4 of an hour of walking, and that's getting to be a bit of a struggle now. So normally Mrs. W will drop me off and pick me up when I'm ready, and I'll do the same for her if she has to go in. I mean, she had to go back in yesterday, have her arm looked at. She's got a small broken bone in there, but she doesn't have to go back. She's just got to keep the strapping on for a little while and take some pills, which I presume are painkillers.
Yeah, if anything crops up, I've got a number to call to get an appointment if it gets worse or anything.
What, like if you die?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, what an amusing time I've been having. And I don't think it's finished yet. I actually had to go back today and pick the pills up. which was another ball ache because apparently they couldn't send them out. But my consultant at haematology managed to get some sent out to me. I think it's because I had to start taking them a bit sooner than they could deliver them. But I've got to go back in a couple of weeks again, and I'm expecting some phone calls about another consultant over the heart. So, good evening, Simon Paras. But yeah, what an eye-opening experience. Not what I was expecting, considering all I wanted was an appointment with a GP to have a chat with him. But obviously they can't be asked, and they're just pushing everything towards A&E now. So no wonder it's rammed. Yeah, the hospital here, Stuart. I mean, it's been like it ever since I've been up here. The parking is terrible. You can very rarely get a spot. It's busy as fuck. There's only 2 spaces for drop off, and the car park is right round the other side of the hospital, and I don't use it. It was fine while I was working there because I had a parking pass, obviously, so I used to be able to park wherever I fucking wanted. But not having worked there for what, 10 years, 8 years?
A long time.
A long time now. But they still remember me when I walk in. But how's everybody doing in the chat? And is Karen in there? She is. Good evening, Karen. Happy birthday, my darling. I did leave a note on your Facebook. For those who don't know, it's Karen's birthday today. Facebook wasn't very nice. They did put her age in there, but I won't say it.
21 again.
21 again, obviously. Wait till you get to my age, Karen. You'll be wishing you were a lot younger than that, I'll tell you. Mind you, my body was just as fucked at 21 as it is now. So all self-inflicted, of course. Yeah, Sid. One, because of censorship. I don't do a lot of swearing, to be honest. I might throw the odd fuck in there, but I think you get a nicer conversation if you don't use too much of it. And there are certain words now, especially in the chat, that with the new censorship that the faceless cowards are using. Hello, what was glitching then? Something was flashing on the screen. You never know what they're going to fucking do, unfortunately. And I think it's only going to get a lot worse. My appointment is 9 a.m. I always try and get an early one, Stuart, but you never know with them up there. Yeah, no worries, Sid. But yeah, the censorship now, I mean, it's getting absolutely bloody ridiculous. I mean, today a guy got arrested in Pakistan over a comment, false information. Now, personally, I haven't seen any evidence of this guy being arrested, but there again, I haven't looked a lot. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if that is actually a load of bullshit from the powers that be, just to frighten people. I might be wrong, but we know they do that. But it's all falling apart around them, isn't it? Labour are losing support left, right and centre from their own people as well. Understandably, with the way the fucking idiot's gone. Good evening, Tony. I mean, he lied about everything they were going to do if he got voted in. Done a U-turn on everything. And if there is a challenge for leadership, look at the fucking idiots they've got that would challenge him. Yvette Cooper. She needs removing from the party altogether. what's her name? Reeves. Yeah, she's the one that screwed the pensioners and everybody else over. You got that fucking idiot that went out abroad, the foreign minister. Well, she's an absolute waste of space. And I'm not saying that because he's an ethnic minority person. He's just a fucking dick. It wouldn't matter what colour he was. But yeah. And the thing is, those that voted for Labour, not that any of you guys would, I would have thought, but you're far too sensible for that. Well, most of you. I won't mention any names there. But he's turning on those. They're going to end up as bad as we are. And if he thinks the ones that he's importing are going to help him, not a chance. I mean, I've even had a word with a couple of Muslims. Obviously, there's plenty of them at the hospital. Some of them I know, and some of them are quite reasonable people. Some are very reasonable people. And they're saying they're getting screwed over by him as much as everybody else in the financial world. Good evening, Russell. But there again, you've got to think about a lot of them, especially the Indians, whichever religion they may follow. They're big businessmen, a lot of them. And a lot of them do own businesses. And of course, they're going to get screwed along with the rest of us. So they're not happy. It's, but I did have one complaint, and it wasn't a racist complaint. I explained my complaint. There was one doctor that came in through the different tests and assessments I was doing. He was a coloured gentleman, I'll admit. And I said, look, is there anybody else I can see? And they said, is it because he's an ethnic? I said, no, not at all. I said, it's the fact that he can't understand the fucking word I'm saying. And I certainly couldn't understand the word he was saying. I said, and when it comes to my health, I want to know what I'm being told. And I just couldn't understand the guy. No disrespect to him, but if you're going to talk to me as a doctor, a professional, then talk to me in my own fucking language for it crying out loud, Good evening, Moo. Budge, good evening. Nothing against it. I'm not about colour or race or anything like that, but when you can't even communicate effectively with a patient, then sorry, but you shouldn't be in that job. Whether that was one that these so-called diversity managers installed, I don't know, but he shouldn't have been in an emergency facing position like that. And luckily enough, the other surgeon or consultant that I was speaking to, that I said about it, I didn't make an official complaint. He said, no, I totally understand. He said, and believe it or not, he said, people have had, even we have trouble understanding him at times. But this is the state of the NHS. It's not degrading. It has gone. What we knew as the NHS just does not exist anymore, unfortunately. Right, that's the last of the Coke for the evening. On the orange, I am thinking about my health a lot more nowadays. Who else is? Personally, Sid, I don't think it's the alcohol. It's more likely to be illegal substances through some of the posts that I've seen. myself, I used to come out with some very weird things when I was smoking the devil's lettuce. But yes, Budge, absolutely, mate. And even more so if you're a creator on especially YouTube, you have to be very, very careful. I mean, I've always tried to do my videos as reporting on what's going on, but giving my opinion. Good evening, Paulette. How you doing, sweetheart? I am very opinionated. I do have some strange opinions, but I have always thought about how I present my opinions. You know, I don't really set out to try and offend anybody. Believe me, if I wanted to, I'd fucking could, but I don't. Simply for that reason. You know, I don't like conflict, but if I do get into a conflict, I like it face to face rather than a slagging match over the internet. It's you can't argue properly with a faceless idiot that won't even show themselves on camera. So yes, Missy, that there. I mean, talking to some of the ones that I know that work there, that have known me for quite a few years from when I did work there, they're very despondent. And a lot of them have actually openly told me that they are actively looking for other employment and not in nursing. But obviously, that's the only thing they've done. A lot of them have done it for years. Yes, they could go and sit behind a till somewhere, but even those sort of jobs are disappearing now with all this self-service shit. You know, you're actually doing the job that somebody used to get paid for by the self-service. Maybe that's why the supermarkets are making huge profits. Yeah, you got to be careful, Budge. They're taking people down for all sorts of stupid reasons. I mean, as we know, Dan had his new channel pulled down and reportedly for continually breaking community guidelines when he's got no content on there. All he put up was a very short 30-second video welcoming people to the channel. Yet they decided, everything on there breaks community guidelines. Yeah, Gordo, I can be a right arsehole. Believe me, you've only got to ask Mrs. W. When I'm an arsehole, I'm a big arsehole, I tell you.
And you're never wrong.
Never wrong. Even when I'm wrong, rule one applies. I'm always right. But if I'm proved wrong, I will always hold my hand up. But until it's proved, I'm right.
Even if it's only your opinion.
Yeah, Dan has put in an appeal, Budge. I haven't heard the result of it yet. I haven't spoken to him this week, to be honest. But yeah, you've only got to walk in the hospital now, and literally most of the, I'll say English staff. I won't say white. I will say English because there are some people from ethnic backgrounds that are English and are proud to be. They were born here. The parents were born here.
They've been here as long as we have.
But they all seem to be the older generation that work there. They're very, very outnumbered now by ethnic minorities.
Oh, look, Stuart's got the same outlook on life that you have.
Yeah, exactly, Stuart. That's because we're men. We're men of the world. Yes, Gordo, I will admit that most of the women I've known are better at multitasking. but only on certain things. When it comes to mechanicals,
oh, don't even go there, or I'll go and prove a point. Do not even go there.
I'll check for 150 quid to yeah, this is the thing, Missy. You look at the payments now that some of the civil servants are getting to make cutbacks. They are getting rid of a lot of staff in the civil service, and they're all getting big fuck off payouts. Yeah, you get made redundant in the real world. There used to be a set payment, no matter, they changed it to no matter how long you'd been there, they set payment levels.
There is a maximum tax-free payment for redundancy that is set.
1,200 quid,
and it depends on your age and length of service.
Yeah.
But I think 20 years is the maximum it takes into consideration on service. But since that was put into place, nobody ever goes, here's the extra and pay the tax on it. They always only ever pay the minimum.
Yeah. I mean, I can go back to the 70s and 80s. Both myself and my father and my uncle and several other members of the family worked at MG Cars in Abingdon. At the end of the day, when it was shut down, it was British Leyland that were actually running it. Now, I had been there 2.5 years before the place shut. My father had worked there for well over 30 years. Now, with less than 3 years service, I got nearly a $3,000 payout in redundancy. Why is my computer doing something? Yeah, I got nearly $3,000 redundancy. For over 30 years service, my father only got 7. So it's not just a recent thing. You know, a lot of companies used to fudge around with things like that. Good evening, Steve. Yeah, there probably is a lot of lag. Oh, hello, what we got here? Remove Chrome. What the fuck? Something's just come up. Read, edit, fill, convert, AI chat, PDF with ease, added, enable extension, remove from Chrome. Fuck off, whatever that is. I haven't got a fucking clue. There's a lot of shit keeps popping up on the screen since I've done the last 3 updates. Yeah, that's what it used to be, Gary. You know, if you had long service, you got rewarded for it. But British Leyland, they screwed everybody over. Literally, they screwed everybody. I will say, in fairness, that the day I walked away from MG's with my check, I did take a week off for myself. Went touring on a motorbike for a week, and then walked straight back into a job at British Leyland again in Cowley, doing the Rover SDI and the Ambassadors, as it was back then. We didn't have to take any interviews. All they wanted to do was you go in, say hi face to face, and you got the job because they knew you worked on a production line before. So we were able to walk straight back into jobs, those that wanted to. I found it, I only stuck it for, I think it was a year, simply because Cowley was a automated production line. The production line never stops. The cars were on the move all the time. The MGs, they were hand built, so when you'd done your part of the job, you physically pushed the car up the track. You didn't have to chase the fucker. And if you balled something up, you could keep your car there and rectify it before you pushed it on. But again, it was time and motion, guys. It was lovely at the MGs because they gave you 13 minutes to do your part of the job on the cars. And most of the guys could do their part of the job in less than 5. So the day's production was done by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Sid, I went to, oh, you buried him in the cardboard box. Nowadays, the cardboard boxes are as expensive as the wooden ones, mate.
They're more expensive because Mother said she only wanted to be buried in a cardboard box.
I mean,
we got her a proper wooden coffin to go up in flames because cardboard was dearer.
Whatever I'm going in, I'm getting scorched anyway. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, once you're gone, the body's just a hollow container. You know, there's no spirit, nothing left in there. So it's not worth hanging on to. And I certainly don't go and mourn over graves. Because as far as I'm concerned, the person whose that grave is for isn't there. One of those hippie funerals. Yeah, I'd like to think of a Viking's funeral. But, I mean, I wanted to be buried at sea. But that is hellishly expensive. And there's only a couple of places around the British Isles where you can actually legally have that done. And it's very, very expensive. And one place I even inquired about it even said there was a waiting list. I said, well, how the fuck does that work? You know what I mean? A waiting list to be buried. But no, I shall be cremated, and it's prearranged that my ashes will be chucked in the sea, hopefully down in Cornwall. You know, I don't want anybody mourning over me once I'm gone.
I was thinking the Bristol Channel's closer.
You chuck me in the brook, I'll bang down there eventually. I'll probably end up going through a few fucking chemical plants and sewage processing plants before I get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what they call that, Sid? It's called a sky burial. There are certain tribes that do it. Basically, what they do is they cut the body open and peg them out on racks, and the birds come down and eat all the flesh and everything else off of them. And once it's picked clean, they go back and bury the bones. I can't remember where it is, but I remember seeing it, and it's called a sky burial. But if I remember rightly, when I was reading up on it, there is one weirdo that goes around. It's part of the ceremony, and they get all the fluids and the shit out the body, and they cover themselves in it, which I find very weird.
Sky burials happen in Tibet.
Tibet. Thank you, my darling. My little researcher in the background here is on the ball. Apparently it's in Tibet. So, yeah, look it up. It's called the sky burial.
most Tibetan people, and some
Mongols. Hmm.
But I ain't going over there.
Leaving mine to science costs kids nothing. They'd probably have trouble finding out how mine work, mate, if I left mine to science. There's nothing on me that's worth having to donate. Literally, even my eyes are fucked, so it ain't worth leaving them to anybody or being transplanted. Most of my internal organs are fucked.
Mongolians, Sid.
Mongolia. Shit, that's... But yeah, so some of the, it's a weird subject to get onto, isn't it? Some of the ceremonies around the world are very strange. There's one again. I can remember the ceremonies, but I can't remember the countries. There's one where they dig their dead up every year. They get them out of caves and boxes, dress them up, prop them up with sticks, and parade them through the town, which I find very unnerving.
Was it like it was on a certain day, like, wasn't it? Like the Day of the Dead?
Day of the Dead, yeah. There's, what's the name? Del Norte celebrations. Is that in Mexico? Peru? Somewhere like that? But this one, they actually get their dead out. They're mummified, as it were. The bodies are complete with the skin. Mexico. And they dress them up and parade them through the fucking town.
Madagascar, they go in and turn the bones.
That's it.
But Pamuchi, Mexico, they get at the bones, clean them, and add them to the family altar. I don't know.
No, this one, they actually, it's the bodies. They strap
in some
them.
places, people dig up the dead on or around the Day of the Dead to honour them and include them in their festivities. So they dig up, they get them out, they give them new clothes.
What do they drink? Come alive with Pepsi.
For Madagascar, they just give them some new clothes.
Yeah, new friends. But yeah, I'm interested in things like that. I used to research it and look them up, and the different ceremonies and different burial practices. I'm not too sure about the piranha one, though, Sid. Inca Cola.
Yeah, that's an idea. Just fill the bathtub with Coca-Cola.
Acid bath. Well, there was, this is a while back now, a year or two ago. It was in the local press up here. That some guy wanted to recycle human bodies and use them as a fertilizer. Like,
what about the guy down the road?
The what?
What about the guy down the road just inside the brook?
What?
Didn't declare his
mother. Kept his mother.
Kept his mother in the bedroom upstairs. A bit like Psycho, so that he could carry on claiming a pension.
Yeah. This was literally 10, 15 doors down. All of a sudden there's police and God knows what all around the property and what have you. And apparently the guy in there, he'd put his dead mother in one of the bedrooms. He lived with his old mother. And God knows how long he kept her there, but he was claiming her pensions and all this sort of stuff. Nobody knew. I mean, the place was eventually sold, but yeah, nobody knew. Nobody said that they'd missed her or hadn't seen her.
Well, he just said she wasn't very well and was stuck in bed, but he knew the moment, because it was rented, he knew the moment he declared her dead, he'd be out on his ear.
So, Tony, if you look in the House of Lords, I'm sure some of them are already rotting in there anyway. Orangina, shake the ball, wait. Orangina. Steve, DIY zombies. Yeah, zombies hate fast food. Human Meat Project is a great idea. Well, the guys from the plane crash survived on it, didn't they? I mean, that must be a horrible decision to have to make. Survive by eating your dead mates raw.
Or die.
Or die.
No brainer.
I mean, there are a group of people, there is a collective name for them, that like to surgically remove bits of flesh from each other and cook them. Not that I'd like to try it myself. Yes, there has been instances in the past, Tony. Not in modern history, obviously. I believe there was, although they didn't actually admit it, but one of the expeditions to the Arctic years ago, many, many years ago, they did find some bodies of some that were marooned up there. And yes, they had been, had pieces cut off them, shall we say. And again, they found bones in ancient graves, haven't they, with knife marks on where obviously they were butchered. So, yeah, I've never tried it. I don't know whether I'd want to try it. But in a desperate situation.
Yeah, if you need to eat to survive and whatever is available hasn't gone off, because that would make you worse than eating it. That kill you quicker.
Yes, Gary.
It's gone off.
That was the name. That was the name of the film that was made about it. I believe they, if I remember rightly, they were a rugby team or something, weren't they? But there again, there's stories of the old, what shall I call them? Not hillbillies, but
rednecks.
The rednecks out in the swamps. Yeah, not only do they sleep with their brothers, sisters, mothers, and uncles, they also eat them at the end of the day as well.
Waste of good food.
Yeah, squeal like a pig, boy. Maybe that's where that comes from. I wonder if it tastes of chicken. Apparently everything else does. That's strange.
No, I've heard it's more like pork.
Yeah, I've heard it's more like pork, and I've smelt burning flesh, and I would akin it to pork. The smell of pork burning. It's not a smell you forget very easily. Let's put it that way.
Especially if you're going to eat your own flesh, love.
Yeah, mine never went that far. But yeah, I have smelt burning flesh as it's burning, and it's something that does stay in your memory for quite some time, and you never do quite forget it. It's not very nice. I mean, it's even during the not the swine flu, the foot and mouth and that. We had the job of burning and burying the carcasses. at the farm a few years back, and that wasn't a very nice job. Wasn't a very nice job at all. So we were all pigs.
Yeah, mostly.
But yeah, I mean, you burn yourself badly on a cooker, you can smell it.
Bacon.
Yeah, bacon. But burning flesh does smell very close to burning pork.
Anyway, is there any way we can sort of get off burning?
Yeah, I'm
flesh
just
and-
thinking that we can get a bit fucking morbid here.
I think we all know that come the apocalypse, we will eat whatever we can find.
The apocalypse.
And unlike the girl I worked with, who wouldn't eat this and wouldn't eat that, and would only go and eat vegetables, and when I asked her where she would find them, she said she would grow them. I went, "You're dead, love."
Yeah. Vegetabilists will not survive the apocalypse.
She wasn't a vegetarian. She just
Okay,
wasn't willing.
hungry.
She just wasn't willing to kill something to eat it for food. In a survival situation, she couldn't do that. So she was going to go away and grow all her own food. And I don't think she knows how long it takes to grow anything.
Well, not only that, if the balloon goes up and everywhere's nuked, nothing would be safe to eat anyway. So
Yeah, but can you imagine growing potatoes?
and then we will all be eating bugs because they're the only things that will
Oh, yeah.
fucking survive.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Rats.
DWP sends £333 message to every state, and that's all it says.
That's because you don't subscribe to them.
Yeah.
Is it time for another payment? I must keep my eyes out.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you checked it recently? Health and safety. But yeah, going back to today's events, modern events. Now, mainstream media are still pushing everything and all these court cases on the riots. Now, if you didn't look around other than mainstream media, you'd think this was a huge thing. But most of those riots, if you could class them as riots, were just a small localized event in a handful of places. They happened over a few days, and that was it. But they're dead set on blaming everything on them. And as I said, the first one was ridiculous. It all kicked off over something, but it was blamed on what happened with the 3 young children. But most of what happened after that is nothing to do with that. It was people protesting about immigration, the fact that nothing's being done about it, it's being done unchecked, and people were protesting about that. And well, a few more than a handful of people took it too far. Personally, I think those that did the damage and tried to set fire to places and stuff like that, I don't believe they were genuine protesters. That they were just troublemakers. Because by doing that, you're only harming anything that you're trying to do. We know the government don't take a lot of notice of protests, but they're taking notice now. And things are swinging a little bit. I've noticed that the pro-Palestinian protests, although a lot of them aren't being promoted or put out live on YouTube now, there are more and more from the left side and the pro-Palestinians getting arrested. But you've still got these gangs of people running around the streets with machetes and shit like that. Now they're bringing in a new law. I can't remember when it comes into effect on the so-called zombie weapons. Well, there is a law already that says they were banned from being sold in this country. They were banned from being manufactured in this country. But they didn't actually ban ownership. So if you already had one, you've got it there. But as usual, they're banning everybody in that. People that use knives in their everyday sports, pastimes. I mean, I used to like my bushcrafting. Part of the bushcrafting kit is a decent bushcrafting knife, which quite often fell outside the legal regulations in this country for having one. So the only way you can actually do your bushcrafting now using those is do it on private land, because on private land you can carry one, just not in public. And the most ridiculous laws that we've ever had over knives in this country, as far as I'm concerned, including, because it includes knives that are used for employment, is you're not allowed a locking mechanism. Well, a locking mechanism on a knife is ultimately a safety device because it stops the knife folding and closing on your fingers. But I think Labour are going to go absolutely fucking ridiculous, and you could end up getting done on the streets for having a sharpened stick. You know? Yeah, this is the thing, Gordo. I said this the other day. They keep harping on about how many are going to jail, how many are being prosecuted over the so-called riots and false information, misinformation, misuse of the internet, etc. Now, most of those that are being convicted, if you look back through the stories in papers and stuff like that, they're all pleading guilty. Pleading guilty gets you a lesser sentence. I believe it's a third off straight away for pleading guilty.
It is.
Now, a lot of these cases, if they actually pleaded not guilty and fought them in a court of law, most of them would be booted out. As it was pointed out the other day, everybody is presumed guilty now. Well, that is actually unlawful for a court to decide that. There are precedents that the courts have to go by, and they're not sticking to the rules. They're not sticking to the law. So I can see in the future a lot of these convictions being overturned simply because the courts acted unlawfully. Now, it's already causing shit because they kicked a load out of prisons and now they're chocker again with people that shouldn't really be there. As I pointed out in the video today, someone goes down for 2 years because they took the piss out of somebody on the internet. Yet somebody who rapes a kid, or the particular incident that I pointed out with evidence of dirty pictures of kids, shall I say, which is unlawful. Suspended sentence. So basically, for using hurty words, you can get banged up for a couple of years. But for ruining a kid's life, you walk away. The law is an ass. It really is. Yeah, there was one, Gordo. It didn't go to court, but there's video evidence of it. There's a video out there of the guy being questioned by the police because he looked at them wrong. He stared at a copper as he walked past, so straight away the copper's gone after him. Well, they're not police anymore. They're Gestapo for the government. They've gone rogue. All they're doing is acting on government suggestions, because the government won't tell them to do this officially, because they know most of it would be unlawful. So they just suggest it. And then you get idiots like fucking Mark Rowley that will carry that suggestion on through. Yeah, exactly, Moo. Exactly. All right, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Take care, sweetheart. Have a nice time.
Enjoy your guests' company.
As long as they're not for dinner. If they're
Don't
there
eat more.
for dinner, fine, but not as dinner. Oh, Chris Packham. Yeah, he's a knob. Said he's an absolute knob. No, he's the guy that tried to ban pigeon shooting on farms. Now, the pigeons decimate crops if they're left unchecked. But he wanted people to be banned from shooting them. And that was overturned in Parliament simply because of how ridiculous it was. I've never followed him. He's been a knob all along. Don't not like to eat them. Bit tender though. No, he's always been a dick, Sid. Always has. So some of the things he tried to get through was ridiculous. The bestiality guy. No, he's the one that tried to ban the shooting of vermin and pests and all sorts of things. Yeah, Gordo. I mean, we used to see it all the time on the farm, and that I come from a rural community, a farming community. You know, it's like with the fishing, and I don't mean rod and line and shit. I mean commercial fishing. Now, as part of your catch, you're going to get undersized fish. You're going to get fish that aren't normally eaten. Now, you have to throw these fish back. They're probably dead most of the time, but you have to throw them back when you sort your catch. They could be eaten, or they could be used as a byproduct to save actually going out and deliberately catching fish for fertilizer and the likes, and cat food, animal food, pet food. Use the byproduct for that rather than targeting other species of fish just for that. And I've seen this myself down in Cornwall, you know.
But you're prosecuted if you land it, aren't you?
Yes, you will be fined, prosecuted and fined. You're not allowed to even boat tuna now. Even if you catch them accidentally when you're pleasure fishing, it is illegal to bring them onto your boat. There are several boats that are licensed to catch tuna and retain them, but that is only for scientific purposes. And there are big, heavy fines for landing a tuna, which are catchable in this country. And they're catching them more and more.
Was Mr. Locke approved?
Well, there's always been a tuna run right back. I mean, was it the 20s? The tuna run every year was a very, very popular sport. As far up as Wales. In fact, I think it still stands. The British record for tuna was caught in the 20s or 30s. It was caught by a woman in a rowing boat.
Tuna record.
And that was back in the days when they weren't what you'd class as a fishing rod. They were stiff lumps of wood. But, yeah, it's illegal to land a tuna.
Oh, we want the UK record, don't we?
Yeah, and it was called a tunny fish back then, not tuna.
UK.
The tunny fish record is what you're looking for. Tuna is nice, Gary. I mean, a nice bit of tuna steak, not the tin shit. A good bit of tuna steak, just seared on both sides. Absolutely beautiful. As long as it hasn't got too much fat in it, though. Because tuna has got fat in it. Because they're just pure muscle. Believe it or not, mackerel, more or less from the same family as tuna. Yeah, a lot of fish have got mercury in them now, Sid, and they've also got a lot of microplastics and stuff like that in them. Unfortunately, most of the seas now are polluted. Ours are getting worse around our coast, definitely. You know, when they're shutting down proper bathing beaches and stuff like that because of the sewerage leaks and being pumped in them. Personally, I wouldn't swim in the sea anymore. I wouldn't swim in the sea.
Looks like somebody may have beaten the record.
A lot of fish and chips that are sold, Gordo, unless you specify cod, a lot of them are pollock and coalfish, coaly. And there isn't a great deal of difference in the taste either. Yep, dogfish is very, very good eating, providing they don't advertise it as rock salmon. The bigger ones, the bullus, are the ones that they used to call rock salmon, but dogfish is very good. No bone, it's all cartilage, and it's nice fleshy meat as well.
In 2015, a 900-pound tuna was caught off Wales.
900 pounds? So that was a new record then?
Yes.
Oh, there you go. I was wrong. I always thought that woman's catch was still standing.
But then I go to British Sea Fishing and it's a Mitchell Henry's 851-pound tuna remains the largest fish listed in the British Record Fish Committee as being caught in British waters 1947. So, it depends when that went up.
Yeah, I'm going back to the 20s and the 30s when I was thinking. Not that I was around then, or some people will say I was.
But it depends what you're classing as tuna and, like you said, what were they called?
Tunny fish. Gordo, yes, you can land and cook thornback ray, but the size limit across from wingtip to wingtip must be over 42 centimeters. That is the regulation size for key. If you get caught with one smaller than that in your bag and you've killed it to eat, you could be prosecuted for that. And the length of the bass to be kept is the same, 42 centimeters. But there is a closed season now on bass. I can't quite remember the months that it is, but it's during their peak breeding, and it is actually illegal to take a bass, whether you eat it or not. If you catch them, you're supposed to return them. I'm not sure, Gordo. I haven't got my list here. It's out in the fishing box. But I believe that is covering for some of the rays. Some of them are protected. Whether the blonde ray and undulate rays and that are included, I can't remember. But I know that's the limit for thornback, simply because we target them when we go to Cumbria. But again, you can't eat the whole thing. It's usually just the wings. And they do take a lot of preparation as well. Yeah, because there was a guy had a record bass, or a potential British record bass, a couple of years back. And he didn't want to take it in and weigh it because it was out of season. So he put it back and he said, stuff the record. He said, I'm not going to kill it just for that. But there is even a size limit on dogfish as well. Yeah, we had a nice sole that I caught earlier in this year up in Cumbria, and that was well over the legal size limit. It fed the two of us with 2 fillets each off of it.
Fishing for thornback rays. Here we go.
42 centimetres. I've got the size limits written on the lid of the box, my fishing box on the inside. And the smallest species that are bloody good eating, to be honest, if you can get one big enough, is a sand dab. And they're only about that big. It's a very small size limit. But they're only a small fish. So.
Not big enough to share.
No, not really. They're sort of.
We didn't get a lot off that sole, darling. When you think you dabs half the length, it's about a quarter of the fish.
But sole is nice. Just fried up, nothing special. Just fried up, usually in butter. Fish always better fried in butter. But there are people that have never had fresh fish. They've only ever had it with batter or breadcrumbs on. And most of that is highly processed. And a lot of people would turn a piece of decent cod down if they saw it being filleted, because, believe it or not, there's usually worms in them, little white worms, which puts a lot of people off. But the cod are actually the dustbins of the sea. They will eat anything. I mean, we filleted cod off that have got plastic cups inside them. I mean, they're just swimming dustbins. They'll eat anything. Yeah, in a survival situation, Tony, or something like that, yes. It doesn't matter how big it is. Sand eels are edible if you're that bad, but you know, rules are rules. I always enjoy my fishing. I always did. And the rules are there to protect stocks.
Make sure it's there for next year.
Funny enough, with a lot of the rules that were put in around the bass, in the last 20 years, the bass stocks have started to recover, believe it or not. And that's been scientifically proved.
They catch them regularly up by where we go, don't they?
Because a bass doesn't usually get to, on average, between 8 and 10 years before they get to breeding age. The biggest problem was the Spanish and the French wiping out shoals of them, and they were taking them at all sizes because they hadn't got size limits over there. But most of the bass that's set in this country, the bass you'll get in supermarkets, that are about yay big, they're actually farmed bass. That's why they're a lot smaller. And again, they're false fed. They're kept in pens. They're fed high protein supplements and stuff like that. So again, they taste totally different. Same as salmon. Wild salmon is totally different to farmed salmon, and most salmon in this country is farmed. And if you get the Scandinavian salmon, Norway, places like that, a lot of those can be actually radioactive as well because of the fallout from Chernobyl from many years ago. The colouring is false in them as well. They're fed foods to make the flesh more pink. Wild salmon, the colour is very, very bland, almost pale. But these are the things most people don't realise, you know. Just let kick. You're the sort of person that goes out and buys a whorehouse instead of a warehouse. But yeah, fishing, I've done it for years. Sea fishing, I've done carp fishing and freshwater as well, but I always enjoyed the sea fishing. Most freshwater fishing is captive fishing now. Most people fish lakes, which are stocked. And I call that artificial fishing. You know, when the fish are deliberately put in there to be caught. But even that can be a bit hazardous now because you pay a lot of money to restock a fishery, and a lot of the channel paddlers, they say they're irregular migrants, so I'll just call them irregular people. They'll eat anything, and they do poach in these lakes, and they will fish by illegal methods as well. And they were going through a phase. Why my table all wet? Where they were killing and eating swans as well. In less than a month, going to paint in Devon. So you'll be fishing South Coast then, Gordo. When you go less than a month, what are we on now? August. You'd have missed most of the hound run. You might get a few rays. There will be bass still about. But you will be getting into bream season down there now, black bream. Sid, be very, very careful because you still have to have a rod license, believe it or not. Even if you've got a pond in your own garden and you want to fish it with a rod and reel, you're supposed to have a rod license by law. There's only a few places around the country where you don't. One is a stretch of the River Thames in Abingdon, which used to be in Berkshire, is now in Oxfordshire. which was always decreed back as far as the Magna Carta, I believe, as free fishing for the townspeople. You have to buy a cheap permit, but you do not need a rod license if you live in the town.
But what happens if you don't live in the town?
Then you have to have a rod license. No, you don't need a rod license for sea fishing.
No.
Although they did talk about trying to introduce one, but basically it'd be impossible to police. And that was the reason they didn't. It'd be absolutely impossible to police a sea fishing license. And believe it or not, fishing is, as far as I'm aware, or it used to be, the biggest participation sport in the country. More so than football.
We can't eat football.
No. Yeah, I used to do freshwater as well, Sid. As I said, I went down to the south of France for a week or so. Oh, quite a few years ago now, for a bit of carping. And went over to Spain as well for a bit of catfishing on the Ebro, the River Ebro. But to me, carp fishing now is all about the tackle. That you got your tackle tarts. The gear's more expensive, and it's I got better rods than you, and I used to be a trophy hunter at the carp fishing. I'd just visit one fishery until I caught the biggest fish in there, because they all had names, because they were caught, over and over. Once I caught the biggest fish in that lake or that fishery, then I'd move on to another one. I used to go all over the country for it. Technically, some fish you can keep, Gordo, for eating.
Trout.
Yeah, but trout and salmon come under a different license. Yes, yeah, the red signal crayfish that is what you're on about there. Very invasive species.
Love to try them.
And believe it or not, carp aren't indigenous to this country either. They were brought over in the medieval times by the monks, the French monks, as food. They're not an indigenous species to this country. They still eat them in Canada, in Italy. In fact, carp is the traditional Italian Christmas dinner.
And Iceland, I think.
Could be an Iceland. I don't think they're indigenous to Iceland.
No, it's a Swedish company.
Yeah, a lot of East European countries do eat a lot of carp, Gordo, funny enough.
The Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland, Hungary, Austria, Germany, and Croatia.
Yeah. But yeah, Italy, carp is the traditional Christmas dinner. But they're actually farmed. I mean, the size they eat aren't the huge 40, 50 pounders. They're usually between 3 and 5 pound. I've never tasted it, to be honest. I don't eat mud. No, Gary Bridlington, I'm going back many, many years ago. There used to be a 3-day fishing competition up there that was sponsored by Shakespeare Tackle Company, and it was called the Shakespeare Festival. And I actually won some damn good money on that over a few years when it was running. Evening, Graham. Yeah, always a flying visit, mate. I know. You're welcome anyway. You know that, buddy.
Nice to know you're still around.
Yeah, and I know you have reasons for not staying on the internet long, so Never worry about it, buddy. You'd never apologise for it.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I've eaten some very weird stuff, Gordo. Roger, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I think we all are, Graham. We all are. Everybody's angry at what's going on. It's got a lot worse than I thought it was going to be. I knew Labour were going to absolutely decimate the fucking country once they got in. And I knew they were going to do it quicker than the Tories were doing. But I didn't envisage it getting this bad, to be honest with you. Which one's that, Lodge? I haven't heard about that one, mate. No, that's all right, Graham. It's all right, mate. Which one was this? The one that was last week? There's been more stabbings again today. I mean, it's just out of control now. Yeah, Gordo, it is. It's going to get a lot worse, mate. A lot worse. Yeah, there was more again in Manchester today. Where else was it? I believe there was one in Wales.
There was the Amazon guy in Leeds.
Yep, Leeds. There was the Amazon guy stabbed to death when they were trying to hijack his van.
It's never worth fighting over politics.
Yeah, he is, Graham. He's totally lost it. I said it in today's video, mate. The guy has got some serious mental health issues. In my opinion, he needs serious help. Oh, the one that was pushed in, yeah. And he'd already fought a deportation, the guy that did it, hadn't he? Yeah. Yeah, he is, Gordo. He's a total control freak, mate. He's a dictator. You know, in some ways, and I hate to say it, he's worse than fucking Hitler was. But he hasn't gone quite that far yet. Oh, he should be sectioned, Graham. But if you remember, Graham, I predicted this a long time ago, didn't I? I predicted it a long time ago how it was going to go. But it has gone further than I thought. But there again, a lot of other people as well as me warned this was going to happen. And the thing is, mainstream media are backing them up on it. They're hiding stuff. They're not reporting like they should be. Well, they're not reporters. They're not media anymore. They're just narrative following propaganda pushers. Yeah. We talked about it, didn't we, a long time ago, Graham? And this is the thing. I mean, you guys in here, you only see me online. But there are people that do come in here that I talk to in private and in person. And Graham is one of them. We do communicate outside the internet. Just to gain each other's opinions, have a chat, get things off your chest and stuff like that. And there's a lot that we used to talk about, not just with Graham, but with others as well, that I could never put online. I could never talk about it online. I'd be gone. They'd have me down in an instant. Most of it was during the so-called pandemic and lockdowns. I was given a lot of information back then, which some I put out. YouTube saw it as misinformation and pulled me down a couple of times for it, and banned me a couple of times and suspended me. But since it's all been over and done with now, everything I said was actual fact. But they wouldn't believe it. People wouldn't believe it. Only those that went and looked for themselves knew the truth. Yes, Lodger. It has been confirmed that the guy was arrested, but it'd be interesting to see how far that goes, because I've got a feeling that it's only a feeling, an opinion, not a conspiracy theory. It's just an opinion I've got that could be a setup to try and frighten people into the fact, look, our reach is outside the country. I mean, the fucking idiot Starmer said he was going to have people arrested in America. Did it? Be interesting if that becomes about. And like I said earlier, they can't even deport a fucking, can't even get a woman back here to stand in fucking court that actually killed a lad through driving on the wrong side of the road. So if they think they're going to bring somebody back for putting hurty words out, it ain't going to happen, I don't think.
Depends how much they want to protect them.
But believe me, if Trump wins the election over there, things will change. And there will be things talked about and done away with between this country and America if this idiot's still in charge here. Good evening, Loafer. Honestly, I can see, what's his name? No, Musty, Elon. I can see him wanting to get into politics. Now, that would be interesting. That would be very interesting.
Well, he wouldn't have to worry about the financial side, would he?
Yes, Secoulis, that's the one, Graham. I don't believe anybody should have diplomatic immunity, no matter where you come from and what country you're in. If you've committed a crime in a country, then you should be tried in that country under that country's laws for that crime. I'm sick to death of seeing people from this country going abroad, getting arrested for local laws, getting chucked in fucking jail, yet the arseholes can come here, break all our laws, and, oh, well, they didn't know, we'll let them off. Shouldn't be that way. If you're in a country, whether you're visiting or living, you should abide and live by those countries' laws. Not by any religious laws or anything like that, by that country's fucking laws. Yeah, never thought of that one, Graham. Yeah, exactly, Boyley. Law of the land. I mean, you go to a Middle Eastern country, they've got some very strange laws, and they've got some very, very fucking harsh punishments.
And ignorance is no excuse.
Yep. Ignorant is no defence. Have a wolf with Loafer. We ain't said nothing yet, Loafer. Sid? But yeah, and you think you've still got countries there that beheading is still a punishment. Having your hands cut off is still a punishment. On the spot execution is still a punishment in one or two. And for some poultry offences as well.
Like stealing the chicken.
He's blocked you. Oh, that's between you two, Sid. Yeah, exactly, Steve. But there again, they've got things that are, how can I put it, normal life to them, which I absolutely find disgusting and should never be allowed. But it's the law of their country. They get away with it. If I went over there, I would have to abide by their laws. Yeah, exactly, Lodger. Exactly. Loafer, apparently, Sid is sorry. Not my argument. I'm not getting involved in that. Yeah, exactly, Boyley. Life is very cheap in some countries, and it shows just in everyday interactions. I mean, you look at what can I pick on? India. You see road accidents. Somebody gets killed in a road accident, which is quite regular over there, looking at the state of the place. They'll pull the body to the side of the road and just carry on. There's no shutting down of the road and investigating. And life is always cheap in those places. Very cheap. Yeah, a lot of them back then, Gordo, did come over here to work, and a lot of them did work hard. And a lot of people seem to forget that they also fought alongside the British Army in the war, along with the Sikhs and many other nations. I mean, that's what I said earlier on. You look at how many Indians now are big businessmen, and they brought a lot of money into this country. Yeah, fair enough. They might have sent a lot out, but they brought a lot of money in. Yeah, the Gurkhas were a prime example, Steve. Absolutely a prime example. I mean, anybody that fought for this country deserves the respect that our own guys got, and our government don't even respect them. So, I mean, the same as the Irish. I mean, the Irish came over here, for many years, and it still is. The Irish are a butt of many jokes. Well, I believe that's simply because the Irish are a humorous people. They are funny. I know plenty of Irish. I've got Irish family. But you think where we'd be if they hadn't come across here? The navvies, the navigators. They built the original infrastructure of this country. Oh, the Gurkhas got shafted for years, Graham. They've been recognised now. They do get pensions and what have you. But that was only thanks to pressure from a celebrity, Joanna Lumley. She was the one that fought in their corner. Polish are always good workers, Gordo. And again, a lot of Polish fought alongside us in the war. Yes, she did, Lofa. she went to Parliament and everything on their behalf. And rightly so. You know, and I'll be totally honest when I say this, the Gurkhas are more loyal to this country than a lot of fucking English people. And they're more respectful of this country than a lot of fucking English people. Yep, most of them, Gordo, as you rightly say, not all of them. Not all of them. But they know they're going to get what they need to survive if they get here. And they get given, as we know and we've seen for years now, they get given more than an Englishman in trouble. And if they're that poor and they want to come here, how come it costs them more to get here than most English people have got in the bank? That's the bit that pisses me off. Yeah.
Well, it costs more to get here illegally than it does to get here legally. So,
yeah,
it makes no sense. Other than they would never be allowed in this country if they tried legally.
Yeah, there was a lot of building went on in Germany and what have you, in the 70s and 80s, Roger, as you rightly say. But the Germans welcomed them. The Germans welcomed them. They wanted them over there. If they didn't, they'd have kicked them out. They wouldn't have let them in.
They needed our skills.
You've got to remember, Germany lost a lot of skilled workers during the war. And a lot of Germany was destroyed. Far more destruction was carried out in Germany than it ever was here. And as Germany grew and got back into business and things like that, they needed it quick. And they didn't have enough people or qualified people. And the British had the skills. I mean, I know people that went over there working. And the other thing was they paid better money. You could earn a lot more money over there. And the thing is, over here, these are the skills that are going to be lacking now. You've got the government shouting and screaming, we're going to build these millions of new homes. But they're building them on a shoestring. So all you're going to get is second-grade work. You know, cheap labour doesn't mean good labour. Oh, sorry about that, if anybody could hear that. A little bit gassy tonight.
Oh, God, no.
Yes, they did, Loafer. The thing is that they're never going to meet the targets that they're aiming for on building housing in this country anyway. It's impossible. And relaxing the building regs to get them built, as I say, that's just going to create second-grade buildings. I mean, you've only got to look at China. I mean, half the cities they built have never been used, and the fuckers are falling down. I'll tell you what, Sid, the Navies work bloody hard, mate. When you consider, you look at some of the channels they've dug through mountains, moved mountains out the way, literally, all done by hand. They didn't have any fucking mechanical diggers or anything back then. It was all done with shovels. He does, Gordo. My ass is it's a weapon. I'll be honest, it is an actual weapon.
I've just learned to breathe through my mouth.
But then it gets that bad you can actually taste it sometimes as well.
But at least you don't smell it. Until earlier today, I had a can of air freshener down by the side of me, but I've used it all.
Unvaxxed sperm for sale. Yeah, well, there'll be the new one out soon, won't there, for the monkeypox, Sid? Don't worry about it. Yeah, a lot of them died in the Thames tunnels as well, Boyley. And a lot of them did die on the canal digging and that as well. But they were earning. They couldn't earn the money in Ireland. All right, Graham. Nice to see you in there again, mate. I know it's always brief, but look after yourself, buddy.
Enjoy your dinner, Graham. Take care.
Yep, using dynamite, all sorts of things. I mean, they did have steam machinery through some of it. That was very dangerous. Quite often exploded. Very good, Gordo. Very good.
The level of jokes tonight is exceptionally cheesy. I've been ignoring most of them.
But there was a lot of people that came into this country that did do good for this country. And they made the country what it is today. Not what it's become now, but they made the country what it was, I should say. And it wouldn't have been done without them, to be honest.
We needed the little man at the corner shop.
Yeah.
They came over and they served a purpose.
But, we've got a Muslim at the corner shop here. And he's a lovely guy. I mean...
He's not truly dedicated, though. He shuts at 8 o'clock.
He did bank holidays and that. He will stay open. He does stay open later at times. But like you said, he's always open Christmas morning.
Oh, yeah.
They don't celebrate Christmas. He said, I always know there's people need the odd thing they've forgotten. He said, so I'm quite happy to open, I mean, we have got a 24-hour Tesco, but it's a few miles up the road. Yeah, okay. People say, but they charge more for their goods. Well, yeah, they're a small business. And if you want something badly enough and you want it quick, you will pay for it. Same as Tesco Express. They're more expensive than the regular Tesco supermarkets. Yet people still use them. Oh, yeah. Stiffening up here. Well, I don't think I'm going to make it the full 10 o'clock tonight, but we're all right for a bit. I was surprised Friday. That was a brilliant stream, guys. Friday, that was very enjoyable. I was surprised I did last till 10 o'clock. But 89 months. Yeah, but the thing is that everybody's trying to make a big thing out of this monkeypox. Oh, we've got so many cases in this country now. We've had cases of it in this country for quite some time. Believe it or not. It's just that it wasn't pushed as a fear factor before. It's been rife in third world countries for God knows how many years. But again, that's all only just being started put out in the press and the mainstream because they want to use it as a fear factor. You know, the bird flu thing that they were trying to push. I mean, they realised people were just laughing at it and taking the piss out of it. So they had to find something that was a bit more, how shall I say, aggressive, a bit more dangerous. And why are all the nasty ones they're pushing named after fucking animals? I mean, COVID was put down as a bat flu, wasn't it? Then you got swine flu, bird flu. Now you got monkeypox. It's like the Chinese fucking calendar. You know, you had the plague. I mean, obviously that was down to rats. Jealousy full of Yeah, it's just strange. You know, I'm convinced a lot of it is, you know, it's just my opinions that a lot of it is brought to the forefront by Big Pharma because as long as there's disease out there, they're going to keep making money. If there was a cure for all diseases, they're out of business, aren't they? Don't forget, on talking about that, I haven't heard much lately about the next level of inquest to the COVID inquiry. Because part of the next level is the financial side of it. The money. Where did the money go? I mean, the Tories said they were going to claw a lot of it back off the people it went to. I haven't heard much about that. Money that was paid to the elites. What was it called? The payment? I can't fucking remember now. My mind's gone blank. Furlough pay. Yeah, I mean, Sunak's missus furlough pay over COVID, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? I mean, the millions that were paid out to friends, not business acquaintances, friends to make money on. I've said before, the Supreme Court in London have actually said there was fraudulent and illegal dealings. Why has nobody been in court for it? Why is nobody being investigated, prosecuted? They all said these investigations were going to start, but they never fucking did they? Yes, Gordo, you goddamn dirty apes. Damn you all to hell. Yeah, I remember the original. But, you know, when you see films like that now, with what we're seeing, you know, were they predicting the future? I mean, 80% of what was put forward in 1984 film, that's it. That's the way it's going. You can go right back to the science fiction films. Star Trek. Personal communicators. Talking computers. Tablets. Thinking computers. AI. That was all on Star Trek long before it ever appeared in reality. JW, good evening. Oh, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I've been saying that for a while. None of this would have happened if the courts had still been playing ball. Most of them are corrupted. These prosecutions wouldn't go through as quick if they weren't. And I can see a time in the future when it's going to cost whoever's in power, it's going to cost the country a lot of money when these injustices are investigated and brought to the fore. Illegal incarcerations, illegal prosecutions, illegal detentions. They're already paying out millions in this country for unlawful arrests and detentions. You imagine how much, if certain things are fought for now, is this going to cost the country in the future? Get the Simpsons going. Yeah, you're absolutely right when you think about it. I mean, I never watched it, but when someone puts something against what was shown in the Simpsons from before, I can absolutely see that. Same as Star Trek. Yes, Steve, exactly. Human machine interface. Humanoids, all that sort of thing. It's all been out there in science fiction, and now it's science fact. Oh, the original series is they were horrendous, Gordo. At the time, they were the height of entertainment. They were the future. But when you look back on them now, it's the acting's piss poor. But the things are there, you know. They all made money. It was going to get dropped at one point because they didn't think it would take off. Take off. Pun unintended. But yeah, they were going to do away with it until the fans complained. I won't go as far as say Star Wars, but I have known some people that do look like Wookiees. Gordo says he's never watched Star Trek. None of the series that have happened ever since. But it started before that. I mean, some of the old black and white sci-fi films.
I was going to say, if you're not into sci-fi, you're not.
Yeah, if you're not a sci-fi fan, you wouldn't have seen it.
I love sci-fi.
So yeah, I do. So you wouldn't have been able to make the comparisons to today. Oh, Shatner, it's unbelievable, Steve. Unbelievable. And I like the fact that although it wasn't actually into space, but he got fired up there in Bozo's blue thing, wasn't he?
He got to the edge of
he
space.
got to the edge of space, and it terrified him. And the fact that the originator of Star Trek, he's now floating around up there.
Lost.
Yeah. And then you got
Roddenberry's lost in space.
Yeah, he is. A human meme said. Well put, mate. Yes. And then you got old Muskie, firing an electric car with a dummy in it off across the fucking universe. I mean, can you imagine an alien coming across that? Oh, they must be some weird race. They built a spaceship and it ain't even got a fucking roof on it.
No, I'm sorry. He's got to be a Voyager fan.
Yeah, Vija.
No, Voyager. Because they find the old in the episode with the Amelia Earhart, he finds the old truck, doesn't he, floating in space?
Oh, that was down to aliens. That was nothing. Oh, Voyager the series. So I thought you meant Voyager the.
No, we were talking Star
probe.
Trek.
Yeah, I remember the one you mean now.
So Elon Musk is a Voyager fan because he emulated that episode.
I mean, to be honest, if there is any alien race out there, which I believe there is somewhere, I do believe that if we believe we are the only race in the universe with the amount of planets and star systems, then that's very conceited. But to be honest, if they're a more evolved, more intelligent race than us, and they've evolved enough that they can cross millions and millions of miles of space to get here, do you think they'd be interested in stopping and looking at the fucking state of this planet? It's nothing but a shit tip. And that doesn't matter where you look on the planet. It's a shit tip.
It's a day trip to the zoo for them.
Yeah. I mean, one of the memes on Facebook was absolutely brilliant. They'd lock the windows, lock the doors, and drive on past. You know?
All right, safari car.
Yeah. We've got plenty of illegal aliens. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Oh, fucking hell. Well, I'm going to give that another quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, people. I've started to yawn now. And that's why I'm sitting back, because my eyes have started going in and out of focus now. Chris Whitter's got a very invasion of the bodies. I call him Whitty the Weasel, Steve. I mean, if you look at him in his collar and tie, it looks like his shirt's are 3 sizes too fucking big. He looks like something from what's the films called? The old Will Smith ones. He looks like one of them who's got the little head poking out the fucking collar. That's too.
Men in Black.
Men in Black. That's it. Yeah, I used to call him Whitty the Weasel. Good evening, Stitch. I'm not going to be going much longer, I'm afraid, darling. But welcome. I'm starting to feel tired now. It's been a very busy week for me. Well, I have looked at some of the evidence, Sid. If they did get there, which I believe they did, they were very, very lucky. And I believe that's why they didn't go back. They knew they were very, very lucky. I mean, yes, things did get to the moon. The reflectors and that proves it, the junk that they've left there. But again, this is human nature. Everybody's firing stuff off at the moon. Recent years, they've started on Mars. But what they're doing, they're just littering. Once the machines break down, they're just fucking left there as litter. I mean, the moon is covered with probes and all sorts of junk that they've sent up there. Look at the shit that's floating around the planet in orbit. The amount of satellites. The ones that are no good anymore, don't work anymore. The junk that's thrown up there, it's a wonder that anything can get through it to get out into space. I mean, look at the number that fucking Muskie's putting up there with Starlink, Skynet, I like to call it. And the fact that you can actually sit outside on a clear night and you can see with the naked eye some of this stuff going by. I think that's all started with one Sputnik.
All the Russians' fault.
Yeah, blame the Russians. And, everybody said the Russians were quicker than the Americans to get things up there and get things done up there. Well, yeah, because they were willing to risk life and limb to do it.
Wasn't there like?
But we'll never ever know how many Russians were killed in space or trying to get to space. And there have been a few advertised and documented incidents, but there's a lot more that were undocumented. Again, life was cheap for them. Yeah, good job. Oh, they can use solar radiation, Steve. But this is the thing, you got people like that fucking idiot's Gates. Oh, let's put the umbrella effect up there to block the sun and stop the radiation coming to the planet. But working on that premise, it would work from the other side as well. And the amount of pollution and shit and heat that's created on the planet can't leave because it blocks it. Well, apparently some museums have got them, Sid. I've never seen one myself. Mind you, I haven't been to a museum since I was a kid, so... How'd they get that buggy up there? Well, it was like an Airfix kit, wasn't it? Fitted to the bottom of the fucking lander. Yeah, it did look huge. I got to admit, it did look huge. And it didn't have any of these fangled metal tires and shit that they've got on the ones that they allegedly sent to Mars and that. I mean, that's what Capricorn 1, the movie, was all based on, wasn't it? Faking the moon landings. But, people say there's no evidence that they actually went, and on this other foot, there's no evidence that they didn't. Not that's been proved. Everything is a theory. Kubrick, yeah. It's like the Flat Earth Society. Now, they've got members, one in particular that killed himself trying to launch himself into space in a fucking homemade rocket. It did not end well. There's amateurs that have launched homemade unmanned things up there with GoPros on and shit like that. They've sent balloons up there. Okay, yes, they're only in high altitude. They're not actually in orbit. But now, Sid, gold foil and genuine gold does have properties about blocking heat and radiation and shit. Now that has been proved in the automotive industry. A lot of hypercars and supercars do use gold foil as heat shielding in the engine bay. That is fact. Who was the latest one to use it? Was it Bugatti? It's usually only used in small quantities, but I think it might have been Bugatti that had the whole engine cover shielded with gold to protect it. And that is actual scientific fact.
Well, gold leaf isn't that expensive, though.
No, gold leaf isn't expensive at all. But there isn't as much gold in the world as people think there is. A lot of it is recycled. As far as I know, people are saying at the moment that Fort Knox is empty because they haven't been mining as much gold and that's been used up. Whether that's correct or not, I don't know. I haven't seen any evidence either way.
Well, they wouldn't admit it if it was.
No. No. And as I've said before, it's the same again with, I still prefer to call them UFOs because that's what they are, an identified flying object. The theory is that the Americans have got some and shit like that. Well, they hide and lie so much that you don't know what to believe from them. Now, something like that, why would you try to hide it? You know, they're obviously covering up for something. Everybody surmises Area 51 and what goes on there. Well, Area 51 was originally put in place along with one of the others for development of secret aircraft, military aircraft. That's fact. Whether anything else is going on there, I don't know. But when you see the security precautions around the place, there is obviously something more going on there other than aircraft. Because the aircraft have got to fly. You can see them from the ground if you've got the right equipment. But they're obviously hiding something. You know? But it's all theories, isn't it? You know, it's... Right, guys, I'm going to call it. My eyes are, fucking hell, they are getting bad. And I am very, very tired. Thanks to the NHS that are trying to cure me of things, they're actually making me feel worse just by the amount of time I spend there. But thank you for everybody that turned up tonight. Absolutely brilliant. Are you doing one this Friday?
I'll see how I feel.
Depending on, well, you probably heard that in the background. Depending on how she feels, Heather may do one on Friday as normal. But because I've done tonight's, obviously, if she doesn't, I won't be doing one on her behalf again. That was only because I didn't do one on the Wednesday last time. But there will be, hopefully, some sort of video before Friday coming out. Thank you, Marines. I don't know quite what's happening tomorrow because I don't even know whether I've got to get up or not, whether I'll be able to get up.
Stay in bed with me.
But we'll see. I may put a short one out tomorrow. I have got some things to look into, trying to catch up. But thank you very much, people. As always, you make the stream for me. And it's nice to chat to you all. But until we meet each other again, it's good night from me.
And it's good night from me.
And as always, stay safe. Stay strong. Stay free. Don't buy into any of the fear factors. Look after yourself, guys.
Nigel.